everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making the Formal Affair Bracelet. It goes along with our Facebook Live, and during one of our challenges, I went ahead and created a simple bracelet that can be done as a wrap. So you can do this bracelet as a wrap and keep it simple, but we're going to decorate up a little bit. Some of those pellet beads with some Super 8s and some crystals along the side. Remember, if you need any of your materials, they're listed at the beginning of the video and below me in the description box as well. So to begin my tiny button wrap, we're actually starting with 2 needles, and I have 2 size 10 needles. You can use size 12s if you want, size 11s, and they are on some 0.006 gray wildfire thread, about 5 feet. The first thing I'm going to do is add a 15, then one of my 1.5 by 2 millimeter crystals, and then another 15 to my needle. This is going to be helpful because I get to start actually with my button and my clasp because I'm working with 2 needles. And I'm going to take one needle through one hole of the faceted table cup button and the needle through the other hole. That way, as I'm coming out the back here, and I have that flat side down, the faceted side down, it's going to decorate the inside of there with just a little bit of that bling and a little bit of crystal. Coming out the back then of the cup button, I'm going to be adding 3 of my 15s on both the right needle and the left needle. Most of the time when you're working with 2 needles, you're going to think about the fact that you're basically doing the same thing with both needles. Coming after and out of that then, after you let those 3 drop down, we're going to pick up one more crystal. And when I take the crystal here, I'm going to take the needle on the right and go through with that needle towards the left. The needle that's on the left then, I'm going to take and go through to come out on the right. Go ahead then and pull and make sure that you have equal amounts of thread on both sides of the needle. From here, we're going to add 2 more of our 15s on both the right and the left needle. If you have trouble working with 2 needles, you can do this with 1 needle. It's just the easiest to explain and to show working actually with 2 needles. You get done your clasp right away, and even though it's a little bit awkward to hold both, you are getting more done at the time. So this pellet wrap bracelet is going to be based on a kind of design that I did during one of our design lives, working with the pellets and some 4mm check glass. I'm going to actually omit the 4mm check glass and switch that out for those 1.5 by 2mm Rondelles, so the pellets sit a little bit closer. And then on the sides here, where I have the crystals in the original design, we're going to throw in some Super 8s. And they're basically like a skinny, tiny super duo that we're going to use, and then we'll come back and kind of embellish it a little bit more. You can do this as a wrap. You can go around once. You can go around twice, kind of up to you. Coming out here, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add one of our pellets. The pellets we're going to add by taking both needles through the pellet in the same direction. Let that drop down next to your button, and that's going to sit right there on the end. Now, each time we add in our pellet, we're going to take the needles then and separate them out, basically right and left side, and we're going to go back through the pellet again. On the sides, I want you to add 2 15s, 1 of your Super 8s, and 2 15s. As you pick up your Super 8s, you want to make sure that the second hole is open, because we're going to be going pretty far down before we come back to that Super 8. And you don't want to get the whole way done and realize that you have a Super 8 that has a hole blocked. This is a good rule of thumb for any time you're working with a multi-hole bead, because the production, when you look at it, they're tiny beads that are produced, and sometimes those holes get closed up either by the coating or by the actual manufacturing process. The needle now that's on the right-hand side, I'm going to go back through the pellet and come out. And that's going to hug the side with those 15s and that Super 8. On the left, we're going to do the same thing, going back through the pellet and coming out then through the pellet that'll hug that Super 8 on the opposite side. So now it's going to be the same thing, repetitive over and over. You can see how that kind of fits perfectly there. Coming out the Super 8, coming out the pellet, what I want you to do is take your needle and thread, add a 15 on the right, 15 on the left. Let those drop down. Then I'm going to take my crystal, just to add a little bit of bling, and like we did first, take your needle through from right to left and left to right. Pull those threads and needles down, which is going to make that crystal kind of sit crisscrossed right next to the pellet. Again, it's just going to add a little bit of bling to the design. Coming out of it then, go ahead and add 115 on left, 115 on the right. And then after I have that 115 on the left and the right, let it drop down, grab your pellet, take the pellet through again, the first with needles going in the same direction, and then we repeat. So that's going to get us the center line here of our bracelet. You can see that crystal's kind of hanging out in the middle there. And when I go in there then, oops, grab another design here. Going in then to the design, what I want you to do is grab again 2 15s, one of your super 8s, 2 15s, and that's on the right side there. Go ahead and give a nice tight pull to make sure that pellet stays down. And again, that you don't have a lot of extra thread showing. Same thing on the left. If you need to, you can put down the needle on the right. Grab 2. I'm so much more right hand dominant, but grab 2 15s, your super 8, 2 15s, and then again, let that hug the pellet, because the pellets are cool because they actually kind of go in like a barrel in the middle, and these will hug right along the edge. So you can see there the start of the design. It's actually pretty just as is, even if you wouldn't go in, and we're going to reconnect to the actual super 8s and come back down, adding another little crystal in and a little bit more bling as we work with it. But I'm going to continue to do this the whole length of the bracelet, whether or not you want to do a single or a double wrap, that's going to affect it. So if you want to do a single wrap, you're probably going to go for about 6 to 6.5 to 7 inches, depending on your wrist size. And then you want to double that length if you are doing a double wrap. So I'm going to keep building, adding in my pellets and my crystals as well. Once your bracelet gets to be the appropriate length, it's going to be time for you to do a loop for the button to sit through. So I'm starting here at the end. I'm coming out of one of my pellet beads, and I'm going to repeat what I did basically at the end. We're going to add 2 seed beads and then our little crystal. So we've been adding 1 and then crisscrossing through the crystal. To get to the clasp, we're going to add 2 of our 15s. We're going to crisscross through one of those crystals. So I picked up 2 15s on my right needle, then I'm going to pick up 2 15s on the left. Let those drop down next to the end of the bracelet here. And we're going to crisscross through that little crystal like I've been doing with all the other ones. Give a nice little tight pull, and then we're going to do a loop to put our button through. So if you want to, you can go big and you can do it with the little crystals, but I'm going to use the 15 O's to do the loop. So we're just going to add the 15 O's and create the loop to go back through the clasp. I'm going to do this first with one of my strands, and then I'll reinforce the other way going with the other strand. Once you have it about the length that you need to, I have, again, we're getting ready to put on that clasp. I've gone ahead and put on 32 seed beads, and I had 11 O's here, so I put 32 of those onto one of the needles. I'm going to take that thread and needle back through one of those rondelles, and then I'm going to reinforce with the other thread coming out to the other side of the rondelle, so that way there's 2 strands going through that loop of 32 seed beads. From there, then, we're going to get ready to decorate down the sides of the bracelet. To embellish this side of the piece, I did a little bit on the left-hand side here just to show you. And coming back on the right, what we're going to actually do is we're going to get in and we are going to be adding in some 15 O's and our crystals. Coming out of the end of the crystal here, we're going to add 2 15s, one of our crystals, and then 2 15s. You're then going to take those beads and go through that super 8 second hole. Coming through then there, we're going to repeat adding 2 seed beads. This is going to get really repetitive. 2 seed beads, 1 crystal, 2 seed beads. The crystal there that's in the middle then, the reason we put it to the middle was, and crisscross through it, was so that we could take our needle and thread through that crystal. And then over to the other side it goes. From here then, same thing. And basically the needle is going to flip from one side to the other constantly, is you're putting on 2 seed beads, 1 crystal, 2 seed beads into the next super 8. Out of there, 2 seed beads, 1 crystal, 2 seed beads, and through that next center crystal. And you can see then since I have 2 of them done. You're doing the same thing on the right and left. And it's going to sit and have that nice kind of oval shape as you continue down the bracelet and fill it in. So I'm going to just keep continuing, adding in 2, 1, 2, going through the Super 8, 2, 1, 2, going through the crystal. Crisscrossing, doing them completely with both needles, and we're going to get the whole way down to the button. When you get to the end of the bracelet design, all you're going to do is take your needles through that last rondelle, just like we have been doing, where we're crisscrossing through. That gets that last kind of concentric circle around that button bead. And once I'm around that pellet, I'm just going to come up through the end with my right needle. So I'm coming out of the crystal and I'm going up through the 3 seed beads that sit right along the end here, going through the button. And when I come out the top of the button, I'm going to go through both the seed bead and the crystal, and then go down the seed bead and the crystal on the other side. Come down through those 3 seed beads that exit right after the button. And then very easily, we're just going to tie a knot. Right over left, left over right. From here, we'll go in with our thread zap or our thread burner and burn off the ends of the thread. And our pellet bracelet is completed. So you can see I did about 3 or 4 knots, and then I go in with my thread zap or my thread burner, burn down the end of the thread, and then burn it flush against the project. And that finishes it up. So you have that fun kind of overlapping and fun look that you can keep it really decorated. You can keep it super simple. And again, this was just a version of a bracelet that I did on the Design Live. You can keep it, like I said, really, really simple. You can go fancy and have fun with it and really make the design your own. Thanks so much for watching the Formal Affair bracelet. Remember, you can keep it super simple. You can make it a double wrap. You can keep it, making it a little bit more elegant, like that formal look that I did with the black and gold, and really make it your own. Remember, again, if you need any of the materials, they're below the video, listed in the description box near that subscribe and that like button. Keep in mind, if you do subscribe, you'll get regular updates from us at PotomacBeads.com with different tutorials that we think you should be watching and things that you should know, as well as helpful hints and design ideas as well. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy making your own Formal Affair bracelet.